Good morning, 8th grade geography students. We are going to do 3 more countries today in Western Africa, and then we're going to um, tomorrow finish up the chapter. Okay, so that's Tuesday and Wednesday that I've just told you about. Tuesday, we're going to have a video and quiz. Tomorrow, we will also do a video and quiz. Thursday, we will review. I was originally scheduled to do your test on Friday, but we have a guest coming on Friday. That will be Golda's parents that will tell us about what life was like in Togo. So I'm going to put off your test until early next week. The test will probably open on Monday. No big deal. I just wanted to make you aware of that slight schedule change. Okay, so let's look at Western Africa. Sorry, I forgot to turn my video camera on, but that's okay. We'll just deal with it. Okay, there are 4 mainland nations on the West Atlantic coast. They're just slightly above the equator, so it is both wet. It has a wet and a dry season. The first country we're going to look at today is Liberia. And Liberia has a very interesting history. It was actually founded in 1822 by freed African slaves from America. It is one of only 2 African nations that have never been colonized by Europe. The other one is in a different region, and we'll look at it when we get there. It is the first Black republic in Africa, started by Blacks, run by Blacks. It's the second in world history. Haiti was the first. So that gives you an idea. Liberia has had its independence for a long time. They've been a strong republic and had a very good success rate. Not all the time, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Excuse me. It established a republic modeled after the United States, and this is really what's interesting to me, is that it was 12,000 former slaves who voluntarily relocated to Liberia to start their own country there, and that's what they did. And today, the descendants of the freed slaves form a very small minority. But what is ironic to me is that when those freed slaves arrived in Liberia, they decided to run their country with them in charge and completely neglect the people who had been left, who were living there already, the native-born people. They did not grant them equal rights under the Constitution, despite the way that they'd been treated in America. When they got the chance to treat others differently, they didn't. They treated them the same way. It speaks more to human nature than to anything else, but it is our human nature to treat others poorly. It's part of our sin nature. Okay, so they did go through a period, let me back up just a minute. They get about 160 inches of rain a year. It's about 4 times what we do. So or twice what we do, excuse me, about twice, well, 2.5 times. So they get a lot of rain. It's a fairly rainy climate. They have a lot of native tribes in the area, about 16 different ones that make up most of the population. As I said here, they experienced coups and instability until about 2003. From about 1990, they had a civil war that was really, really horrific. And then they had a really bad leader. His name was Charles Taylor. He was finally ousted in 2003 and was captured and turned over to the UN in 2006 to stand trial for war crimes. That's how bad it was. It was really bad. But in 2005, they actually elected the first female president in the continent of Africa, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and she has done a fabulous job of running the country. She won the position of president. She had been educated in the United States in economics. She served as an assistant minister of finance in Liberia and worked at the World Bank for a while. She has worked tirelessly to repair relationships with neighboring countries. She also has eliminated Liberia's national debt. Um, she was reelected in 2011 and also has won the Nobel Peace Prize for her work not only in Liberia but in working to promote women's rights around the world. So she's obviously a very noteworthy person there. Anyway, Liberia is a Christian state. It was founded with religious freedom and was founded as a republic. But there are a lot of secret occult societies in the country that maintain quite a bit of influence and make things downright scary at times. Another interesting fact about Liberia is the company Firestone Tires has quite a bit of rubber industry in Liberia. It was founded in 1926. The rubber industry in Liberia was started in 1926 by Firestone. And when they went through their period of civil war, it destroyed quite a bit of their equipment and all of that. It was just devastated. More than half of the country's population had worked in the rubber industry, but that changed when the Civil War occurred there. The company, though, has gone in and rebuilt a great deal of the infrastructure in Liberia. They have built 1,700 housing units in Liberia and 26 schools. They have supported healthcare facilities and provide care to 9,000 patients a month. So the company of Firestone is really helping with the rebuilding of the country of Liberia. All right, let's move on to Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone was run by the Portuguese. They were the first Europeans there, and they gave it this name, which means Lion Mountain. It was started as a settlement for freed slaves, and their capital is named Freetown in that respect. They gained their independence from Britain in 1961, as did many of the countries. That 1960 age is about when most of these countries gained their independence. They experienced the same civil war that came to Liberia. The devastation that went through Liberia also went through Sierra Leone. So they've had a hard time reestablishing a stable government after that. They are one of the leading producers of diamonds in the world. So that would help them reestablish a stable government. That obviously have something that is worth a lot of money, but they are really struggling. They also produce quite a bit of citrus fruit. Okay. Guinea is the third country we're going to look at today. We're actually looking at 4. I forgot Guinea-Bissau. Guinea was formerly a French protectorate. They have a lot of people involved in agriculture in this country. They gained their independence in 1958, again in that 1960 window, but they very quickly became a Marxist government, meaning communist. And the first openly Marxist government in Africa. They turned immediately when they got their independence in 58 to the Soviet Union and Cuba and China for guidance, and they have been openly Marxist for quite a while. And of course, the failure of communism plays on them because that is going to affect their success. Communism cannot succeed. It doesn't take into account the greed of individuals, which we all know is pervasive in all of society. All right, their capital is at Conakry. It is one of only 2 major ports on the African Atlantic coast. They do enjoy freedom of worship despite the Marxist government, but Muslims are gaining a big stronghold in the country of Guinea, and these are radical Muslims that are putting that freedom of religion in jeopardy. All right, the last country we're going to look at is Guinea-Bissau. It was a slave trading hub of the Portuguese Empire. This is one of those countries that gained their independence quite late in 1974. Excuse me, let me go back to that. because Portugal didn't give up the colony until 1974, and then they fell into years and years of fighting, and it remains one of the poorest countries in the world today. They have had years. You notice those years. That's 23 years of military coups. That further destabilized the economy as well as the government, and they just have not had the chance to recover from that. They have enjoyed some religious freedom, but typically right now they are over half Muslim, and that is going to continue to weigh on their ability to create religious freedom. They really need um, nationals trained in the areas where they can take over and pastor these churches and um, get the people up to speed on giving the gospel to others. And that's going to take a lot of training and a lot of patience. They have quite a few missionaries that are from Latin America and Asian countries that have gone to Guinea-Bissau to try to help. But again, it's just going to take some years of work and patience with these people. Okay, so that is all I have for today, and I hope you are all doing well, and we will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.